Once upon a time, this place used to be a car wash. You'd bring your car in and it would get sapped with all kinds of soap and wax and hot water. There's still water, but now that water is being used for a much better purpose. That water has turned into some of the most delicious beer in the Midwest. This is the Bent River Brewing Company. Since the early 90s, beer fans have been buzzing about Bent River Brewing. From their crisp and light Mississippi Blonde to the hearty Uncommon Stout, this crafty paradise has been cranking out flavors Quad Cityans can't get enough of. Now with a second location in Rock Island and a busy production line, we're diving into the past to see how it all got started. And we are here at Bent River, Rock Island with a man who is one part George Washington, one part Willy Wonka, all part living legend. Tim Coster from Bent River is joining us. Tim, I meant every word I just said.
Swell.
You're really kind of the mad genius behind all this. And I know you're going to do the, well, there's a lot of people involved, but really, it's all you, isn't it, Tim?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. So tell me, how does this get started? How do you have an idea and write it down on a napkin or however you got started, and it becomes, many years later, all of this? Walk me through that.
In the beginning, basically, a friend of mine went to a homebrew club meeting. We were contemplating making our own beer. That would be cool. Have these beers that, just blew us away. We had no idea that beer had that much flavor or difference or anything. So, in a short period of time, after that meeting, we basically were going to start making our own beer. So we tried to get some supplies to make the beer. There was a gentleman that belonged to the club called Mugs, a local homebrew club, who sold supplies. So we got some supplies from him, and we started making our own beer, and he was kind of very hard to get a hold of and not very reliable and didn't have what you wanted and stuff like that. So I took it upon myself to get a license and start selling.
So completely out of necessity.
So I started selling beer supplies out of my basement. And I live out in the country, let's say, a ways away. So it was kind of an issue for people to come to my house and buy supplies. So I shored up with a partner, and we started selling supplies out of his house, which was in Moline. And he became much more busier than me, simply because more people were able to get supplies at his house.
Right.
And then shortly after that, both of our wives said, this ain't gonna happen no more.
Just too much. There's too much stuff going on in the house.
Too much traffic. And the building that I bought housed my homebrew shop on one side, and Moline Beauty School on the other side.
So it's, walk me through this, all right? Walk me through this. Homebrew supplies / beauty shop. This is where Bent River starts.
That's the building that was
Right.
purchased, right.
You're not selling beauty supplies,
No.
although I would make this argument, this Bent River beer, it's a beauty supply.
Oh.
Don't kid yourself. Oh.
And
I already feel prettier. So you've got the shop, you're sharing space with a beauty supply.
Yes.
Or beauty shop.
Beauty shop.
Okay.
But he's going out of business. That's why he's selling the building.
Okay, makes sense.
So I purchased the building. I offered the gentleman that was looking for a place to put the brewery half the building for part of the stock.
Okay.
In the business.
Okay.
In Bent River.
All right.
And at that time, I had no intention on being a brewer or nothing. I was going to have my own brew shop, and he was going to have what he wanted.
Right.
A place for his brewery.
Right.
And I would help him with supplies, and it was a relationship that we built that way. And I owned stock in the brewery, so
I know how
that was kind of cool too.
I know how the story ends because I'm a big fan. But at the time, this seems like an incredibly foolish idea. Am I wrong? I mean, do people tell you you're nuts?
Logistically, after we got into the project of really gutting the beauty school and figuring out where things were going to go and how things were going to happen, and
right?
how stuff had to go down the basement and come out of the basement,
Right.
and all that stuff.
There's something wrong with all of you thinking this is going to work out.
It's a terrible
Bad
place for a
idea.
brewery.
I mean, on paper and everything, this is a terrible idea.
Yep. Yes.
Now, gutting this place and making it into Bent River.
Yep. Gutting it, doing as much work as we can ourselves. At the time, we were like the We were like the 4th startup brewery in the Quad Cities. So there were some before us.
Right.
First in Moline, and they were uncertain about that. And the state of Illinois was really kind of, at that time.
Because this is before the craft beer, home beer revolution where we take for granted the world we live in now. Back then, they're looking at you like you're a couple of maniacs making rot gut in a bathtub, right?
We were viewed that way.
Right.
And we had personality and character and
Well, yeah.
reputation.
You're all
right.
slightly insane to
Right.
begin with. You're all a little unhinged. You have this crazy idea, and you're asking a government to say, yeah, that's okay.
Yep.
They did eventually, obviously.
They did eventually, obviously, when they found out that, they get a piece of the pie and
Right.
everything's
It's
good.
funny how that works.
I know.
You've got everything built and you're ready to go. You're ready to start making beer.
Mm-hmm.
Who gets to make the beer? Who's going to be the one in charge of that?
That wasn't me in the beginning.
Really?
No, the customer that I had that started Bent River basically had somebody else in mind. That person fell out of grace, and I was just the next most logical person to step in there. Yeah.
Really?
As far as brewing, yeah.
So there's a lot of this story where you're just kind of the guy.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of
I mean, you're just kind of Tim. You're just
mythy stuff out there.
right. So you're just kind of, a lot of it is just right place, right time kind of stuff.
Yep. Falling in.
Just all fate. Because I would have assumed you were born with a silver growler in your crib. This just all kind of sort of comes together naturally and organically.
Yes.
Wow.
Very much so.
Wow, that's great. Next on Brewed, it's all about the tastes. The beers that got it all started and the one that launched them to all new heights.